I'll learn you. Diversity, teach me. I teach you like university. Freedom be.
What's up, everybody? It's Dr. CI, and I'm back in the building for episode number 2, where we're going to be talking about gender microaggressions. Now, I'm going to just jump right into it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and turn your notifications on so you know when I'm in the building educating you. Now, what are gender microaggressions? Gender microaggressions means that you have offended someone based on their gender with a subtle slight, whether it was verbal, nonverbal, behavioral, or environmental, right? And you have offended something that is related to their gender identity and or their direct gender identity. So what does that mean? Let me give you some examples. For example, sexual objectification. One of the ways that this is a microaggression is you think you have the right to touch someone's body without their permission. Say you are a male identified or masculine identity, and you go to a femme identity or a female identified person and you automatically grab them because you think you have the right to touch them. Now, one, that could also be assault, but it is a gender microaggression because you are objectifying her body or that person's body in a way that offends them, especially if you didn't have consent or permission to touch them. And let me be clear, I'm not talking about rape, because rape in no way, shape, or form is a microaggression. That is a macroaggression. But I'm talking about you thinking that you have the right to touch someone or put your hands on someone. It could be sexual objectification. Or even if, let's talk about in the entertainment industry, you are objectifying people's bodies in a video, etc. That can be considered a gender microaggression. And more than likely, it happens to women. It happens to femme identities, right? Y'all got that? Now let's talk about the assumption of traditional gender roles. What does that mean? This starts from the time someone conceives a child and they think that they need to assign a gender to that child. What's some of the first things that we do? Let's think about it. You buy pink for a femme identity. You buy something that is blue clothing, decorate the walls, blue, etc. in the nursery for a masculine identity. We already start to assign things based on gender. Think about the names that you give your children even. Nobody thinks about the fact that a name can be an assumption of a gender role, but there's femme identified names, there's masculine identified names, and there's non-gender binary names that could go either way, right? And if and when it is perceived what the gender is going to be and revealed, you start to assign names. You are indeed assigning gender roles. We also do that sometimes in school without even thinking about it. Think about the fact when you go to a bathroom, when you look at the sign on the bathroom, there for femme identities or women bathrooms, it's often a woman or a body in a dress. When you go to the male identified bathrooms, there's often a person in pants. We are assigning gender roles even based on what we require clothing to be that is associated with your gender identity. And it's so subtle because it happens so often. Even when you go into a store now, you have a men's section, you have a women's section, you have a boys section, you have a girls section. Most department stores don't have non-gender binary sections. And when would you go into a store and see a skirt for a little boy in the boys section? You don't see that. That is a perpetuation of assigning gender roles. And it's something that we're so exposed to every day, we don't even think twice about it when it happens. Next, let's talk about assumptions of gender inferiority. How often do we hear that women are emotionally unstable? Women don't know how to handle their emotions. Now, as controversial as this sounds, I'm going to say for the fact that we even label emotions assigned to gender is an extreme assignment of inferiority, right? It's an assumption of inferiority because think about the fact you tell boys they don't cry. Boys absolutely cry. Humans cry, right? Or you tell us not to show emotion. Think about in a workplace. If a woman cries at work, she is seen as inferior. Even if a male cries at work, they are seen as inferior. But what happens to a person who's non-gender binary? Have we even figured that out? We still base the assumption of their gender role on what they look like in their physical sex. So you have to understand that when you assign emotions to someone, you are creating spaces for inferiority when it comes to gender. And that has to stop. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down? let's get to the strategies. Y'all ready for strategies? I know y'all love strategies. Y'all always be like, Dr. CI, how do we fix it? How do we stop racism? Well, first of all, if you want to stop racism and sexism, you need to start doing that at birth. Diversity training is not going to solve your racism or your sexism no matter how much you watch these videos. You need to put it into practice. You can't just sit and receive it, right? I'm not gonna be able to solve your racism for you. You have to do that yourself. I'll give you the tools to do it. When I give you the tools, you fix the problem. Y'all got that? So I'm handing you these tools. Y'all make sure y'all come to our channel and check out our videos so that y'all get it. But I digress, I'm gonna go back to the strategies. Y'all still with me? Okay, great. Now, when I think about strategies, what's the first strategy you should do if and when you have a gender microaggression towards a person? Shut up and listen. If they correct you, be quiet. It's not your job to say, well, I'm surrounded by women. I have sisters. I have a mother. I have aunties. I can't be sexist. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. And the more exposed that you are to those people might make you even more sexist if you don't have a heightened level of awareness to understand when you are wrong. You get that? You got that? So what I'm saying to you is if and when you are confronted, shut up and accept correction. Next is you have to go do research. You got to look at literature because some of y'all are adults who will be watching this video. You have years and years of practicing these things. And if you want to undo them, you got to grant yourself some grace and do it one step at a time. That means that perhaps you don't assign gender colors that are associated with gender acceptance to a child's room. You don't assign, for example, you pick a gender neutral name or non-gender binary name for your child, right? How does that sound? Like you have to be able to start to educate your children and yourself and or the people you take care of about what it means to not have a specific gender role association. And even if and when you do assign gender to your child, make sure that they don't impose that on other people. You have to teach them because there's some people in the world who are not going to act like your child, who may be the same sex as your child. And that's okay. So every day that you're doing that, you have to put it into practice. Here's another strategy. Let's talk about asking a person for their pronouns. As adults now, we often say, well, I don't want people to know what my pronoun is. I've ran into people that's like, you can obviously see what I am. I'm like, no, I need you to tell me, what are your pronouns? And remember, pronouns are not preferred. It's not a preferred pronoun. It's just that person's pronoun. And you accept what they tell you and you need to practice it. You're gonna mess up. Of course, I mess up sometimes. We all do. But understand that if and when you mess up someone's gender identity, apologize. When you mess up their pronouns, apologize, accept correction, and keep putting it into practice. Keep exposing yourself to it until it becomes a norm. That's how we do most things in our life. Think about when you learn how to drive. How many times do you have to get behind that car and drive before you became competent? You taught yourself those things. You need to do the same thing for gender identities. Y'all get it? Now remember, check the description for different types of resources that we provide to you to help you navigate the space of gender microaggressions. And keep following our videos, like and share them, spread education across the world, and even leave in the comments when you've had an encounter where you faced a gender microaggression, because we want to hear your stories. We use that for education. We share it with other people. So I'm looking forward to seeing what y'all have to say. Once again, I'm Dr. CI, and I am leaving the building. Thank you for tuning in.